What up, what up, what up, yo? So in this meditation, essentially I'm gonna avoid the trap of the mind. In this meditation, what I have done is I have managed to sit on a chair and maintain my feet elevated by finding a surface parallel with the chair. So I have my feet elevated with my knees partially raised, and I have the weight of myself essentially grounded, or let's just say on my root, but I could still feel the distribution from there to my legs. So in essence, I have my feet's attention, my bottom's attention, and I've been directing my focus from there to alignment spinally, factoring in that I've noticed that while I sit in a chair, I seem to be drifting in towards a slanted position, and it feels so natural. You almost can like avoid noticing, but essentially all you have to do is again ground, you know, oneself, adjust one's body position, and then notice that these movements that in your adjustments are done. They can pull, is essentially what I would say is we're attempting to say our center of gravity's weight. um so now my focus is returning back to my spine, chest raising, feeling one's actual weight distributed throughout the body. And then being able to also know that in that tension, you catch something. So you have to be able to tune back in and release that something that is caught in that tension, and then return back to the the position of comfort. Essentially, it's not really about sitting up straight for me right now. It's more just maintaining alignment, but I should refrain and take that back and say I should maintain more of my groundedness, because I am also not really like stable, because I suppose the ground it's no all over the place. I'm just sitting down, so but it's doing my best to work with what you got, all right, so now I'm listening to my breathing. So I've noticed that this entire time my upper chest chakra, my throat chakra, those seem to be inhibited in some way. So there's blockages right there. So I call it was like tension that I picked up, in the first parts that had got stuck in the body. So you got to be able to notice when you do the releases, of the tension, that there's tensions that can pass through the body. You know, it's like saying having it's like the impulses that are correlating through your nervous system in the inner workings of your body. Reaching, giving what is action and direction and command to, let's just say, your lower body, versus the attention and focus just being on it, subjected to developing more a self criticism or critical remark or perspective or perception, even at that. So it's understanding that you have to see the body as a tool, as an extension, as a hand into this reality that you can reach, that you're actually reaching down from this conscious state of being into this psychic plane of impulses, creating thus then what is related to movement and action. So this is what we're doing. We're grounding ourselves to the essentials of what is and why it is, and so on and so forth. So for me right now, it's alignment. To have anything in the body in imbalance mode, the body will immediately not only magnify it to the mind, but it brings attention to it. And it's about finding oneself grounded and sitting down so that they can do the work. Because the work is very simple work. It's energetic, It's literally just about being able to let go of the personality and person that you may think you have to perform, and taking time for yourself to simply tune in to what is in essentially your everyday's automated mode of operation, So you have to tune in to actually do some manual work. The manual work is usually done for the most part now recreationally. You just recreationally spend your time doing what you do and enforcing that. So to break that pattern, essentially, is just there to be more able to add intention and direction. So not so much as to see it in any way that it's negative, more to embrace the positivity that it's itself sparking, because everything has and is showing something that in its benefit is presented. So it's being able to also see that aspect of it. And we've already understood that the breakdown of any meditation essentially starts with knowing that what I'm addressing is 3 aspects of myself. I'm noticing the coherence my heart has that has created the rhythms that my body then operates under. We can call this fight or flight, calmness, tranquility. I mean, any state of these chemical processes that the body may undergo, for whatever purposes it may be, that essentially through our progress in establishing, our being has developed. And so with that, the rhythm becomes a very high priority. We've become so perceptive to other people's perception and being able to tune in to frequencies that are, let's just say, regarded in variances that then are presented, well, all through all, with a lot of variability, because not only is it someone standing in a brand new point of view, each time, essentially it may be even presenting itself in a new dynamic, either way though, we're getting back to the coherence. And with that being said, so with that, the mind coherence now, establishing that my mind is so used to needing to operate on visual data to make decisions. What does it take for the mind to really get a break? Essentially, you can say is cutting the loop, closing your eyes and taking time to work on your rhythm. Because it's all you're doing every day of all day is constantly creating rhythms in yourself, rhythms of things that you could do with or without, things that could add or be seen as, even in their minimals, still, variably for what it is, for the most part. Essentially, we like to keep things as variables, makes things much more manageable. So in this mental mindset, it's more of a now, my awareness has to connect with my conscience, because whenever you undergo any type of, self-development, there's processes in the being that have to be brought to synchronize, and they're not always in synchronization, let's just say, in terms of what could be seen as relevant to its, needing to be brought into tune with the harmony of what is. So essentially, it's more, let's get back to it's thoughts, mind, awareness, consciousness, and then there's the heart. That's let's just say another seat of conscience, another place from whence we make decisions and act from, another place that produces its own let's just say, potential and outcome, you know? So we're regarding not only the mental managing of that energy, but that energy manages best through the mind, because the mind helps it bring understanding to itself, where it might not necessarily find itself understanding. And sometimes even being able to let go of the mind allows that part of yourself to better, tune itself in, because it won't have to find anything that it needs to feel like it needs to chase after, or it needs to find in itself. It just kind of steps into itself, and into a different, let's just say a way of expressing oneself, or seeing oneself in the expression of what is. So as you can see, my heart and my mind, all the words and messages that were exchanged, not just verbally, audibly, but also visually. You can see it in the movements, where it is that you see that there's tension and release of tension and release of tension, tension. And slowly but gradually, yeah, you think you're doing that first because you're just raising your chest, but you don't realize your stomach's being pushed forward. And next thing you know, you're like, oh my God, dude, I really look like I'm this big. But it should be more of a posture, like kept. But essentially, since it's like an internal spiritual working part of oneself, it's almost like feeling one's spirit in oneself being not just agitated, but basically managed, and it's kind of, a creative dynamic to try to understand, that, like, to think that, you know, like one's inner spirit being can be managed. We don't think about it like that. We just think about it. I'm moving my chest. I'm moving my stomach. I'm moving my shoulders. I'm doing the wave. But it's more than that. It can be used. Like if you misinterpret it, you can overthink it, and then basically feed yourself a reality that is based all on presumption and wrong assumption and wrong understanding of oneself, one not understanding the mechanics of one's own being and potential, because the entire time I'm sitting here, the way I look at it is, I mean, if I was, let's just get a little intimate here, since this is very personal to me personally anyways, it's like if I was sitting on a man's throne, and I'm pretty sure most people understand what a man's throne is, you know, and I was accessing my inner workings to cause a process in me that then produces motion, result, outcome. And it's easy for me to interpret as just impulses through muscles, and the muscle part is understandable, but the inner working of it, and the relieving of oneself, which it's almost like saying, like when you're feeling well and healthy, you're just focused on the outside, but all of a sudden you feel like when you're sick, all of a sudden you could feel your stomach. It feels like your insides all of a sudden revealed themselves, or the moment you feel like, it's almost like even when you drink, you catch a buzz, and all of a sudden parts of your being feel like they reveal themselves, rather than like throughout your day, most people are just like, it's almost like their body's hiding from them. It doesn't want them to notice them, and for the most part, they don't. They just carry on about being responsible, following with obligations, and carrying through with priorities, And all it is just a simple rhythm. I know one thing: if I train my voice enough, I could make my voice be the instrument that I listen to that makes me feel good. And not only would I simultaneously put out the same vibration that I in turn would be taking in, but it would become a loop, you know? It's almost like saying, if I find myself falling in love with a certain tone, and just practice that tone to the end of myself, and that's the tone that I go to when I want to feel love, express love, show love, send love. That'll be the tone, like a simple, programmable side of oneself, because you understand the dynamics to it. You know, it's almost like in the opposite too. Very true. It kind of is already where you see that cheat code right there, because in the opposite, it's clear as day. Nobody even questions that. you know. Hey, well, thanks for you guys' time. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this meditation with me, and I definitely enjoyed being able to walk myself through it, share this moment with you guys as well, and definitely the outside perspective that I'm able to embrace by knowing that I'm putting it in a way that is able to be hopefully perceived from an outside point of view with enough interest and input to bring it all to meet itself satisfied. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of the day.